today I'm going to have a look at building lines over the minor 1-6-2-5 progression, which is something that pops up all the time in jazz. Compositions include Lullaby Birdland, Softly as in the Morning Sunrise, the Minor Blues, Sugar by Stanley Tarantine, and all sorts of other stuff. And you really have to know what you're doing with this. So it's a nice little vehicle to sort of practice building lines. It should be noted that none of the lines I'm about to play are licks. In other words, I don't actually know what I'm going to play yet. I'm just sort of keeping my fingers crossed, and I'm hoping that I'm going to come up with something half decent. This is more to do with showing you how to create lines on the fly, as in actual improvisation. Let's play minor 1-6-2-5 in the key of C. So we've got C minor, we've got A minor 7 flat 5, which is kind of interchangeable with C. It sounds like C minor 6, right? We can talk about that a bit more later. The 2 chord is D minor 7 flat 5, and then 5 chord is G7, some kind of G7 here. I've chosen a G7 sharp 9 because I felt like it. Let's have a tiny little recap on those previous long lessons about guide tones and moving through the changes to the next available note. If we take this group here of frets, which is 9 to 12, so let's not go outside of there, and let's play the notes in order. So let's go C minor 7, 1, 3, minor 3rd, 5, flat 7, and then the next available note is going to be the minor 3rd of A, minor 7 flat 5, which is C. Then we have flat 5, which is E flat, and then we have flat 7, which is G, and then 1 is A. So that whole thing is. Next up, we've got D minor 7 flat 5, the next available note. I make flat 7, 1. We can't go above 12, so we come back. 7 again, flat 5, and then G7. Let's choose G7 with a sharp 5 and a flat 9. So we've got 1, flat 7, sharp 5, and then 3. So the whole thing would sound like this. I'm sure you can hear that as we play the arpeggios against the chords and voice lead to the next available note, that harmony is absolutely outlined without a shadow of a doubt. But it's not quite music yet, is it? I think with just a slight bit of variation, we can turn it into something very musical very quickly. So maybe the first concept is to realise that we could have just changed direction at any point during that process. So let's just have a look at a quick example here. So let's take C minor 7. Let's go an octave up. So we're here. Okay, so if we were going to go through the exercise, then we'd keep going on and go to the next available note in A minor 7 flat 5. How about we just come down instead? Okay, that sounds pretty good to me. Let's just change direction again and let's go back up. So we're on D minor 7 flat 5. And then for G, we're already on G. What about G7 flat 9? So we've got flat 9, A flat. And should we come down? So 1, flat 7, sharp 5, and finish on C. So that's your first line. Let's hear what that sounds like with a bit of backing. Works, doesn't it? Okay, let's evolve that line into something else. So initially we started with C minor 7 to A, and then up, back down. A good note over D minor 7 flat 5 is the 4, and you can see it's only 2 notes away, and we've got kind of 2 notes, 2 quarter notes to get there. So we could do this. Just go from A to G. Great. Back up. So for the flat 5. And then as we hit the G, the next available note is the sharp 5. 3, flat 9, 1, if you like. With the backing. It's all right. Okay, let's try one with a slightly different start. So we've got C minor. Instead of going up the arpeggio, why don't we skip a note? So 1 to 5, and then minor 3rd, and then down to 1. Change direction. So we go up to A. Let's choose the 4. What about 4 to flat 5 and back down to minor 3rd? What's that? That's something, isn't it? I can't think what it is. Probably some Christmas carol or something. Okay. Back up. So we're on D, on the D minor 7 flat 5. Up the scale. And then our next available note on G is flat 9. Bit boring. It's alright. That's okay. Let's try that with the backing. I could may have been slightly more adventurous with the ending. Let's just have a look at that. Why not? That's what we're here for. Something like that. Flat 9, 1, 3, 5, and then end on the 2nd or the 9 of C minor. Let's see what that sounds like. Pretty good, I reckon. That's all right. I'd be happy with that if I played that in a live situation. Well, I mean, this is a live situation, I suppose. Let's try one with a different starting note. We finished the last one on 9, which is all rather lovely. So why don't we start this next one on 9? Let's go an octave up. So we've got D over C minor. So we've got C minor 9. 4 notes. We'll come down. Let's miss out the 7 and let's play 5 and then minor 3rd. That's all rather terrifyingly familiar, isn't it? Move to the next kind of available note in A minor 7 flat 5. The 4 is a very popular choice over this chord. Play a little boppy thing. I feel like I'm coming up now, so I'm presented with a little, not a problem, but a kind of decision here. I can either play, because we're on D minor 7 flat 5, so officially kind of Locrian, I suppose. I could play the flat 9, but actually it's not a great note over the D. I could opt for the natural 2nd, but it's, sometimes I just don't really want to do that because it ends up as being the equivalent of a major 3rd over the minor. So I might just actually choose to skip the 9s altogether, which would make minor 3rd. Does that make any sense? Hope so. This is what it's going to sound like. So we've avoided the whole 9 problem by just by going straight to minor 3rd. Okay, I was just improvising there. And I sort of anticipated the G. That's how I felt that. And that's the end of my line. Oh, sorry. Let's hear how that sounds over a bit of backing. I could have stuck an ending on there, I suppose. what we did before, isn't it? Brilliant. Another one. Okay, let's start with a 9 again, but this time change direction. So we go up to the minor third, come straight back down. There's our 3 notes in C. Let's go back to G, just like we did before. Back down to the flat 5. Change direction. So, and let's choose. I'm going to do a kind of little enclosure here. So I'm going to go for the flat 6 over A minor 7 flat 5. But I'm doing this because I'm going to head down for this G. So I'm going to go chromatically, and then I go 1 below. So a little enclosure. So, and let's use that same little boppy thing that we used in the last leg, and then finish on minor third, something like that. I like that. That sounds like jazz. Great. Let's start another one with 9, except this time let's move it down the octave. So here's D down here, and that's okay as a melody. Just a quick note on that. I mean, it's anything that you can come up with on the fly that's all right is great. This you haven't got time to sort of worry about what was potentially a better thing to play. Once it's gone, and you just have to react to what you've just done. So we've ended up on the 4 of A minor 7 flat 5. Let's do a little enclosure here. So we're heading for D minor 7 flat 5. I can see that the flat 5, the A flat, isn't that far away. So let's just go 1 above and 1 below. So so far we've got this. And let's continue that kind of theme. Let's enclose the 1 of G. So 1 below, and then we've hit the G. So flat 9, flat 7, sharp 5, 3, and then we're finishing on the 9 down there. Hey, that was pretty good. Okay, let's see what that sounds like with a bit of backing, if I can remember it. Not too shabby. So this is literally how I would think in a live situation. It doesn't really get much more kind of complicated than that. And I think mixed in with a bit of sort of rhythmic imagination, then if you treat your lines in this way, then you can really come up with your own kind of stuff, like spontaneously. And it doesn't have to be complicated to be good, Sometimes just keeping it simple is the right thing to do too. And it makes those more complicated moments sound better anyway. So you could kind of go the other way, you could say, okay, I'm going to start on 5, so that's G, and then start looking for some sort of common tones, So, for instance, A minor 7 flat 5, G is 7 or flat 7, and then we're moving to D, so it's going to be 4. And then we're moving to G, and it's going to be 1. So in fact, G can work over the whole thing. I think it's important to have in your sort of side eye or your peripheral thinking or whatever, of what the intervals actually are in relation to the chords. So yes, I mean, you could just be playing G over the whole thing, which would sound like this. Complicated, eh? Although, if you were to use that G as a pivotal note, a kind of start point for a line, and you can see how its role in each chord changes as the harmony moves through it, then you could create something out of that. Like, so if we were going to look at, say, the next available note above it, in C, that's going to be B flat, so it's going to be the 7. As the A comes along, the next available note is going to be A. And then when D minor 7 flat 5 comes along, it's going to be A flat, because that's the flat 5. And then G is the 1 of G, obviously. So you could come up with something, like, say this, I don't know. End it somehow. Is that what I did? Okay, let's hear how that sounds. It's all right. But it's just another way of looking at a line, and rather than making things more complicated, just sort of make things more simple. And always look for these common tones, because they're absolutely all over the place. Let's look at 4, for instance, like the 4 of C minor. And you can kind of leave it there for A minor 7 flat 5. You can definitely leave it there for D minor 7 flat 5. And you can definitely leave it there for G. So you can kind of use more than just the 5th as a sort of pivotal note and something to base your ideas around. In other words, you can keep it very, very simple, like simple for the listener, when it can actually be quite complex, like thought-wise. Let's come up with something for the F. So F over C minor is like a C minor 11. I've just gone to C. I've outlined the A minor 7 flat 5 harmony with a kind of C triad there, C minor triad. Back to the F, because we said we would, which is minor 3rd over the minor 7 flat 5. Going up the scale. Back to the F over G, stick a flat 9 on it. So the whole line was this, which is a very it's a very simple line, isn't it? What does that rhyme me of? That's why I drank a 5th of vodka one night, or something like that. So yeah, it just sounds like a little sort of throwaway thing, and it is. But as long as you're aware of the harmony, then it can turn into something just a little bit more cerebral, possibly. It sounds like this. Okay, well, let's keep going down. I would say that it would be harder to pivot on a minor 3rd, because when it gets to the D, it's going to be a little bit difficult. But definitely you could do it, the D minor 7 flat 5, that is. But if you wanted to pivot on the 2nd, say, that's definitely an option. I can kind of see straight away that it's going to be 2, and that's going to become, the D is going to become 4 of A minor 7 flat 5. It's the 1 of D, and it's the 5 of G7. And to me, the natural 5 of a dominant chord going to minor is absolutely a choice. I've mentioned this before, but if you're always going to go for the altered scale, then the 5th isn't even in there, which is a shame, because I think it's a lovely note. So let's just come up with something really, really kind of simple, utilising that that D. Okay, that's the way it started. I'm going to go with it in the true spirit of spontaneity. I've ended up on the flat 6 of A, but hey, sue me. I'm going to come back down. I'm going to go back up and then back down again. Okay, pretty simple. Simple sounding. And it is the sort of thing that you could have just come up with anyway, but I absolutely know what I'm doing. Would you believe? Okay, what did I play? With the backing. Yeah, okay, not the world's most complicated line, but you can hear the concept behind it. And if you get used to actually utilising these sort of concepts, then life becomes more interesting. It's like I say, these aren't licks. Nothing has been worked out, or very little of it anyway. Of course, there is the fundamental way of getting around the guitar, which is definitely kind of idiosyncratic for every single player. But just fundamentally, just to be able to come up with your own lines on the spot, something you might have never played before, is a much more gratifying experience than sort of stitching a load of licks together. That's the way I see it anyway. And of course, it has to be said that once in a while I'll just play the blues and not really care about the changes. And it's nice to know that we can just sort of fall back on that. But if you're going to use that all the time over this progression, I think you're going to run out of ideas, and B, you're not really going to understand that progression itself, which is going to get you in trouble a little bit further down the line. This is what I'm talking about. So I'm just going to play the blues without really caring what's going on. Well, not that I don't care, but I'm not going to try and outline the harmony, and it's fine. It's absolutely fine up to a point. And then afterwards, I will play a bit like that, but I will be paying more close attention to the harmony. And if you prefer the first one, then, well, you may as well stop watching this after that. Yeah, all right. That was all right, actually, wasn't it? Okay, so here's one concentrating a little bit more on the harmony. I would like to think that was slightly more sophisticated, but yeah, it's undeniable that it's possible just to kind of get your way through with a bit of the blues and not really worry too much. But that's fine. We can just keep that there, for those situations where it's all getting a little bit overwhelming. That concept has just actually reminded me that I said that we do 2 more of those pedal things. So the next one down from D is actually C. So C is obviously going to work over C. So we've got C minor, and then we've got A minor 7 flat 5. So that's the minor third of A minor 7 flat 5, and then D minor 7 flat 5. That's the flat 7 of D minor 7 flat 5. But when it comes to the G, this is the G7. You You could argue that it's you're playing a sus chord, but really that doesn't work very well. You'll hear this if I just play C over the whole thing. Yeah, I hope you can hear that. So you can hear how I can get out of that just by maybe even dropping one note and going down to the third of G, which is B, like this. I know that sounds painfully simple, but hopefully that illustrates why just playing the blues, staying in C and just playing the blues isn't going to get you the whole way through necessarily. I mentioned earlier that the C minor and the A minor 7 flat 5 chords were pretty much interchangeable, and that's because one is an inversion of the other, really. Here's a A minor 7 flat 5 chord. The C on the bottom, it just sounds like C minor 6, right? So that could tell you that your first scale choice, if you want to deal with scales, is actually a Dorian, because it's got the natural 6 in it. Yeah, minor 6. But of course, the melodic minor scale also has a natural 6. So you can use the melodic minor scale too, even if it's like a C minor 7. You know, I mean, people aren't really going to complain too much if you stick in that natural 7th. Let's start with the major 7 on the downbeat then, to make it officially melodic minor. We're going to continue down the minor major arpeggio. So we've got 5, minor 3rd. Go back up for A minor 7 flat 5, 4 notes. To D, up, to G, so 1, down the sort of augmented thing, sharp 5, 3, 1, and then let's come out on 6 to further highlight the fact that the C and the A are interchangeable. So that whole thing sounds like this. With the backing. Pretty good. If the major 7 isn't on a downbeat, then it doesn't have to be considered as a melodic minor scale note, like this, for instance. So let's just go up the minor major arpeggio, starting on 1. So you can hear that it's not hitting one of the chord tones on the downbeat. So although it does contain the sort of melodic minor scale note, it's not necessarily a melodic minor scale. I mean, I could have substituted that for a flat 7. You see what I mean? Okay, see what that sounds like to the backing. And stick an ending on it. Okay, so I hope this little session has given you a clearer idea of the way that I might think about forming lines, and I hope it's been a big help. I fully intend to do a whole bunch of these because it feels like the right way forward. Perhaps I'll just play you out with a bit of minor 1-6-2-5. Okay, see you next time.